Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Chip Paul with us today, aka Chip Talks. Chip Talks podcast. If you want to listen to it, he's the chief biohacker at Truemedx and Neighborly Wellness. He's a regulatory consultant and expert speaker, contributor at American Journal of Endocannabinoid Medicine. If you've listened one of my last podcasts with Len May, we've scratched the surface of the topic. So today we're gonna continue on that path and learn more about what Chip is doing because him and I have a lot of alignments. This podcast it is brought to you by my company. It's called podpire.com. If you want to start an AI podcast and scale it, get some sponsors, get some leads, and get paid by YouTube AdSense, you can go to podpire.com. We can do it for you, do your podcast for you, and we can also teach you how to do it. So we have this new start your podcast in 2025 training that you can follow for $500. So we have the Cyber Monday deal. Chip, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself, TrueMedX, and what you're up to nowadays.
Sure, Charles. Well, it's a pleasure to be on your podcast. So thank you for having me. And so I'm doing the same thing I've been doing for about 10 years, and that's study really human function, but the endocannabinoid system, as sort of the template, let's say, to understand human function. And by studying human function and studying the endocannabinoid system, you begin to realize that there's a completely new logical construct for human function that emerges. So as you study the endocannabinoid system, it tells you what you should eat. It tells you what's important. So it kind of tells you how to run your immune system and, how to defeat disease, which is really cool. So it's going to be the, let's say, therapeutic target and research target for many, many, many years to come for, bright young minds.
So it's not only for weed smokers to identify which strand is best for them.
So if I asked you, Charles, what are the two most important foods that you eat every day? You'll likely give me some answer that likely is wrong because we don't know this, right? And we don't know how we work. We're never taught. No one ever gave me an operations manual for this thing, right? I've got one for my lawnmower. I've got one for my car, but I have one for me. And the most important foods that you eat every day are omega-3 and omega-6 fats. And omega-3 and omega-6 fats are what build your endocannabinoid system. You have to eat those fats in balance or you will have horrible consequences like most of us suffer from right now. So, the the endocannabinoid system is a lot more than marijuana, right? So like I'm saying, the two most important foods that you eat every day are the master precursors for your endocannabinoid system.
Well, the most important food I would argue that are the ones that keep me alive at first. And that would be one, and well, like carbohydrates and so forth, and then minerals and vitamins. But aren't we having like too much omega-6? Because omega-3, I agree that most of us are deficient, but omega-6, it seems that we already have too much of that. Most of us, that is.
So let me explain kind of how this works. So these two things fuel your master regulatory system, which is the endocannabinoid system. So omega-6s, and you're absolutely right, we have plenty of omega-6 in our diet right now. And omega-6s are what create inflammation, and they're what create an immune response. So everything that you need to be able to build an immune response comes from omega-6 fatty acids. So they kind of kick up reactivity in our immune system, and they give us the ability to inflame. Right now, omega-3s go the other way. They give us the ability to deflame, and they're more healing. Okay, so omega-6s are more reactionary, and omega-3s are more healing. If we eat them in balance, we can do great things. So we'll have an immune response, we'll inflame, we'll mitigate whatever's going on, and then we'll deflame and we'll be great. Right now, we're eating so much omega-6 that it's like cranking up this reactivity spring in the inflammatory direction. So you might be allergic to dust, right? And a dust mite now will just wham, cause this huge overreactive immune response. That's where most of us are at right now. And again, in what world would you need to take an immunosuppressant to fight a virus like COVID? And it's in this world because we're so reactive, right? But the cool thing is, guess what fixes it? Eat more omega-3s, just balance it out, balance out the teeter-totter. And that fixes, a lot of what's wrong with us. It fixes a lot of obesity. It fixes a lot of disease states that we have right now. And most people don't view this as an endocannabinoid discussion, but it 1000% is an endocannabinoid discussion. So,
Interesting. Yeah, I'm certainly gonna research more about the endocannabinoid system. I mean, as a biohacker, what I've extensively studied at first, I also had like you a supplement company. I think that was 7 years ago. It was a nootropic. That was my first obsession with the brain because I was a student back then. I wanted to have better grades. I wanted to optimize my brain, and there were like 10 pills, right? But not one pill with every active ingredients inside it. So we built that at first. Then I began being obsessed with other modalities, ice baths, Wim Hof breathing, and yeah, it's basic health stuff like lifting very heavy weights and some fundamental exercise like squats, deadlifts, and so forth. Gone into fasting.
yeah.
So why have I gone into all these important modalities that have been put on the map, like folks like Dave Asprey, Ben Greenfield, and why have I sort of ignored the endocannabinoid system? Is it something new or?
Yeah, it's just, again, it's something that's verboten. All right. So if you're a classically trained PhD or MD, you never ever got one class on the endocannabinoid system. You might have had it, and it's your master regulatory system. It's the mammalian master regulatory system, and it is, well, I helped build the curriculum at University of Mississippi for a master's level class on the endocannabinoid system. I'm an adjunct professor at ASU this semester teaching analytic chemists about the endocannabinoid system, but there is no PhD level class yet, right? There are no PhDs in the endocannabinoid system that can teach other people about it yet. So it has been something that we have not thrown research dollars at through NIH. So it has not been as well studied as it could have been. It certainly is not in academia, so you won't find people really, you'll find some outliers. There's definitely people studying it, but you won't find a university specialized on the endocannabinoid system because it's disincentivized, let's put it that way. So it's not in pharma's best interest to have you understand the endocannabinoid system because you can heal yourself from stuff out of your backyard. You begin to understand your body better and your behavior better and the things that you're doing to your body that might be hurting you as you understand this system. So it's not in, let's say, business wise, it's not in the best interest of a lot of pharmaceutical companies to teach you about this system. And it has been discouraged, let's say, at major universities and things like that. So it hasn't been discouraged, but it hasn't been encouraged. Let's just put it that way.
But do you think it has gone up because, for example, legalization of marijuana and cannabis product have been a thing in Canada and in some parts of the US, and that brought like attention to the product? Because
yeah.
I mean, as a biohacker, I love CBD. I have some actually right next to me here in Mexico. It's like not fully legal, but I love CBD because it brings my anxiety down. I love. I don't have like deep anxiety, but I love combining it with coffee, right? Because I drink a lot of coffee and I'm sensible to caffeine. So I need something to balance it out, right? But it hasn't been as game changing as other compounds, such as creatine for me,
right,
or omegas, like you mentioned. So why has people like, why do people have a fixation with endocannabinoid nowadays? Is it because there's like a business opportunity as well, or is it because it's truly game changing?
No, it's truly a thing. It's truly a game changing thing. And again, how you modulate that. So think about this. We all kind of understand our central nervous system, right? So we understand neuron fires, and that's how we move and kind of do things, right? Well, the endocannabinoid system sits above the central nervous system. It regulates the central nervous system. Okay, so absolutely, it's a real thing, and you can there's again, I've helped build there's now a master's level class on endocannabinoid sciences at University of Mississippi. That's new this fall semester. There is a master's program at University of Maryland, but there is no PhD program yet, to your point. And so without a PhD program, there's no universities researching it. There might be individual people researching it, but there's no real, hardcore effort. But let me explain to you about CBD real quick, because I think this is important. So if you look at this master regulatory system, well, it's a great target, right? It's a great pharmaceutical target because I can push a button here and I can have effect way, way, way down in function. So like, for instance, GPR119 is a receptor in your gut. If I push him, he's an endocannabinoid receptor, you feel full. Okay, so it's a pretty important receptor. Again, there's other ones you can make you hungry. So anything regulatory in your body is accessible through the endocannabinoid system. So something like CBD affects the system globally. So let me give you an example of this. You may have, let's say you have fatty liver disease, all right, which is an inflammatory thing. And it can happen from hook-rounded pinworms. It can happen from drinking too much. It can happen from a lot of different things. But let's say you have fatty liver disease. Well, I can give you CBD, and that's going to help overall your immune system and your overall self be able to do stuff better. It's going to give you more horsepower in your immune system. So your immune system, you might decide, I'm going to use this extra power to heal my liver, or you may do something else, right? But it's kind of the biggest need. Now, if I give you something like milk thistle is very specific to the liver. He's going to go right to the liver and help with inflammation in the liver. If I put the CBD together with the milk thistle, now I've got a synergistic drug, really a very effective thing to help you with liver inflammation. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. What kind of effect did your biohacking had on your own self, and when did you had your biohackers awakening, sort of?
Yeah, so 2014-ish, so 10 years ago. I'm 64 years old. I take no medications. I haven't been sick in 10 years, so I'd say pretty good. I'm doing way better than most of my peers who are on, blood thinners and cholesterol medicine and all that. So, and I'm super healthy, right? So just as a personal testament, and my wife, same thing, 10 years, no sickness, good health, no medications. All we do is take herbs. We do take herbal supplements, but we just take herbs. So it's been a great thing for me. And then just the cool thing kind of for me is, let's say a non-lettered, I'm not a PhD and I'm not an MD and I, don't have any letters after my name. I'm a mathematician, so I'm a smart guy, but, don't have any letters, right? So it's been really cool to dive into an area of science, a whole field of study that's almost virgin, that no one has touched, and really dive in and understand it better than, humbly said, probably I'm top 5 in the world on the theory of the system, and, just be able to get in and learn new stuff, stuff that I can teach you. So that's so exciting and cool to me. And I continue to, every day I learn new stuff about, let's say, human function under the endocannabinoid system, which is fun and cool and exciting.
So you have the supplements, you have the clinic, and the endocannabinoid business. Like, which one is your cash cow, and why do you have this ecosystem of businesses?
Yeah, so none of them have been a cash cow at all. In fact, they've been the exact opposite. They've been a black sucking hole of cash. But because we believe so much in what we're doing, and we believe, so let me kind of give you the history. So in 2016, I wrote up for a patent. So I held a patent around manipulating this system with non-cannabis things, right? So stuff out of your spice cabinet, turmeric, black pepper, ginger, glyceric acid, licorice. So I wrote that patent to basically prove a point that I can manipulate this endocannabinoid system without marijuana. And we built a whole company, a whole supplement company around that, which is now kind of what Truemedx is. So, that has cost, let's say, a lot of money to develop. The patent cost a lot of, we're probably $1.5 million into our development. And what have we made from it? Nothing so far. But we're right on the edge of really being able to fly. So like I've got some stuff that I'm talking to pharma about selling. So I have some drugs, let's say, in the Truemedx lineup. And those are very lucrative. We've just launched an effort where we're partnering with the only peer-reviewed medical journal in this space, the Journal of Endocannabinoid Medicine. And so we'll be doing a lot of communicating, let's say, about the system. And, if I can educate you about this system, you're going to come buy Truemedx stuff, because as soon as you really understand kind of what's going on and how the system works and how we've designed, let's say, our products to work in the system, then you're going to buy my stuff. So it's, that I don't need to sell you anything. I just need to educate you. And so that's what we'll do. And it's in 2016, I'd get up and talk to people about all this, and they'd look at me like I was a crazy man. Like I was, Chip, you're just trying to sell me marijuana, no. And now at least people's minds are beginning to open up, and, talking about how food impacts the system seems to be a very good opener for people, where they kind of are shocked to find out the stuff that they eat, they're impacting their endocannabinoid system, and they don't smoke marijuana, right? So
Yeah, these businesses are usually money drains. I mean, there might be some breakthrough, but me personally, I had to close down my supplement business. Some days we were in the green, some days we were in the red with the Facebook ads that we were running was full e-commerce. We had the best product out there. We also invested in research, spend a lot into that, and it happens that the supplement was neuroprotective. That cost us a lot, right? But
yeah.
at some point, we had to close it down. If I'd have to redo it, I'd certainly do some outreach to get my product in stores, have some influencers promote it. I'd probably invite people that could promote it on my podcast as well. What are your top priorities for 2025 to grow your businesses?
So that's a really good question, because we're just getting, let's say, stuff figured out enough to know how to sell. So we've been trying to, let's say, sell supplements, on the internet, let's say, since, for 8 years, right? But we're just now beginning to get figured out, how to dive into demographic groups, how to target those demographic groups using influencers, the things that you're talking about. So 2025 for us will be a sales and marketing effort. We've done the science, we've kind of done what we needed to do as far as validating, that our products work. And we've got lots of testimonials, around our products. So it's really going to be about selling them, marketing them, finding our influencers and our demographic groups, to go, be our apostles on the product. Now, interesting that you have been through this same thing. It is, people think all the time, oh, well, I'll just start a CBD company and I'll get rich. As you know, that's insane. First of all, it costs you a lot of money to start a CBD company, but then you got to figure out how to sell stuff. And what we found out is, finding influencer groups is the best way to sell stuff. But that's hard, and it's 5 or 10 people at a time, and it takes a long time. So,
tell me about the podcast strategy side of things.
Yeah. So, and interestingly, I know you're kind of about monetizing, right? So I've done a poor job of monetizing my podcast, but we'll do that better in the future. I feel like God, honestly, my understanding of God, my, higher power has given me all this knowledge, and I kind of feel like I've got to share it with you. And so, I might be able to make supplements from it and sell you things and make a living from it. But the knowledge that I was given freely. And so I need to give that back to you freely. And so that's kind of what we try to do with the podcast. We do target them somewhat toward, it's Immune Health Month. And so we're going to talk a lot about the immune system this month or whatever. So we try to kind of keep them on topic. But we're going to start asking for email addresses and things like that for people to listen to the podcast, not sell anything yet, but ask for I will be on this endocannabinoid, the Journal of Endocannabinoid Medicine's website behind a paywall talking about everything that I know to physicians, right? So you can kind of get that free for right now on my podcast, but we'll clean that up over time, let's say. So there's a ton of stuff on those podcasts that, if you're a biohacker or a formulator, you'll enjoy kind of some of those rabbit holes that I go down.
And what do you say to people that think this is a scam, or the stigma associated with CBD businesses and yet all the opportunists in the field?
Yeah, again, it's there. I would say that the CBD business has attracted a lot of scammy people. So they're right to be on point and guarded. But at the same time, you can go, chat is kind of the best thing in the world right now, right? So chat GPT. So if you download chat GPT and you go listen to Chip Talks podcast and you fact check me, I'd love that. And again, you're going to find out that I speak truth. So, if you speak truth, you don't got to worry about scamming people.
Yeah, there you go. Checking studies and from reputed scientists and peer-reviewed stuff. What do you think about AI into all of this? Do you think AI can help fetch the truth through compiling data and potentially making sense out of it? Do you think it can help grow the field faster?
Yes, 1,000%. The thing about AI is it doesn't lie. It can be biased, right? So I can bias it by the data that I give it, but it doesn't lie. It's going to give you the best truth that it knows at the time with the data that it has. So let me give you an example of this, and kind of this is a real world example. So I have a friend whose dad is sick. He goes into the hospital. They put him on dialysis because they think his kidneys are crashing. And it makes him way worse. He goes into ICU immediately. So they call and they say, help, his dad's dying, blah, blah, blah. So they send me his medical charts, all right? And he's got his kidneys are crashing, obviously, or he wouldn't be on dialysis. But kidneys don't, God is a perfect engineer. Your kidneys don't just fail. You just don't wake up one day and God says, your kidneys will fail today. It doesn't work that way, right? It takes something. So again, the guy, he's got something going on that's causing his kidneys to crash. So in his medical charts, he's got an Enterococcus bacterial infection, and he's had it for 12 years. Okay. They've tried to treat it with antibiotics, but the antibiotics don't work. It's resistant to the antibiotics. So time after time, he's come in with all manner of problems, and they've given him antibiotics that haven't worked. If you go to Google and you say, what will kill Enterococcus bacteria? Garlic. Every time. You can't become bacterially resistant to garlic. God always works. Nature always works. And garlic will always kill Enterococcus bacteria. So let me tell you about the exercise that I went through with this hospital. So the first person, I was trying to just get him ivermectin because I figured that was prescriptive. So I get the attending physician on the phone. Doc, here's what I see is going on. What do you see? Oh yeah, it's some infection. Well, let's get him some ivermectin. Well, he hasn't been to any third world country. Okay, ivermectin is anti-parasitic. He's clearly got some kind of parasitic thing. No, he doesn't. So we end up in an argument and everything. Then we go to the pharmacist. So the pharmacist, I'm like, do you have ivermectin? No, we don't carry that in our formulary because we're not incented to carry that in our formulary, right? Can I give him garlic? No, you can't give him garlic. We don't carry garlic in our formulary, right? So literally this guy died because we couldn't get him garlic, all right? Because it was against the hospital's rules. We did finally get him garlic in the last 2 days of his life. But it was too late then. So all that to say this is, again, there is this emerging huge suite of evidence for natural products and how natural products affect the endocannabinoid system and how they can basically help the immune system and fight disease. That is diametrically opposed over here to pharma. So pharma, if you come in and on your blood test, you have high creatine, you're taking a creatine supplement. So that's going to indicate to me, if I'm a doctor, that you have some kind of kidney dysfunction. I'm going to go to my SOPs and I'm going to say, well, what do I prescribe for kidney dysfunction that's at this level? And I'm going to write you a script for whatever antibiotic, and off you go. And that's just the way that works. But it's garlic would work better. So those two worlds have to come together. And I think we're in a very unique time here in the United States where we have, we made the right decision November 5th. And by making that right decision, we've got a new HHS secretary. It's going to kind of force this on us, right? So it's going to force us to be re-educated about all this stuff.
Right. Garlic is what I got from this. So maybe I should get more garlic nowadays.
Well, no,
Yeah,
for you.
my wife.
So
Yeah,
like
tea for
you, if you're an athlete, and you want to, let's say you want to biohack your athletic performance. Well, again, first thing I've got to teach you about is fasting and fed, right? If you're in a fed state all the time, you're never going to be at your best. You're 20 times less. So I've got to teach you about fasting and fed. But then past that, if I can get you to go fasting and fed, now I can begin to teach you about mitochondrial efficiency. So if I can't get you to behave right, it doesn't matter to teach you about mitochondrial efficiency. But if I can get you to behave right, now I can teach you about mitochondrial efficiency, and we can begin to throw things at your mitochondria that make them work better, like L-carnitine, right? Which you probably used in your stuff, or there's fats that will make, mitochondria work better. Methylene blue will make mitochondria work better, right? So there's a lot of things that you can throw at a mitochondria to make it efficient. If you have 100% healthy mitochondria, you're going to have 100% healthy cells, and you're going to be 100% healthy, all right? Almost all disease has to do with cellular mitochondrial dysfunction in some way, and usually due to inflammation from infection. So,
right. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on today, Chip. Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so you can find our supplements at Truemedx.com, and it's TRUEMEDX.com. You can find our clinic at neighborlywellness.com, and you can find my podcasts. If you just go to YouTube and at Chip Talks Health, you'll find the podcast. But thank you, Charles. I appreciate you having me on today, and it's been fun.